For weeks, Caitlin Clark found herself at the center of controversy while many of the loudest voices remained silent. Fans grew increasingly frustrated. Commentators tiptoed around the subject. Then something changed. The silence cracked, and it wasn't the WNBA speaking first. It was some of the biggest names in basketball. Not carefully crafted statements, not public relations talking point. These reactions felt direct, personal, and impossible to ignore. Players such as LeBron James, Luka Doncic, Steph Curry, and others began weighing in. What caught people's attention wasn't that they praised Clark's talent. It was that many appeared to be addressing the treatment she had been receiving. Among them, Curry's response created especially strong reactions. After watching the conversations, the criticism, and the physical attention Clark faced on the court, he finally spoke up. And when someone with Curry's stature enters the discussion, the basketball world listens. Suddenly, the debate became impossible to avoid. He wasn't alone, either. Several NBA stars publicly expressed admiration for Clark's game and questioned why so much negativity seemed to follow her success. Their comments fueled even more discussion across social media and sports media alike. One of the most surprising reactions came from Pascal Siakam. When the All-Star forward was asked about players receiving major attention, many expected a routine answer. Instead, he unexpectedly brought up Caitlin Clark, not as a casual mention, not as a polite compliment. He spoke about her with a level of respect that immediately stood out. The comparison wasn't framed around popularity or headlines. It was about talent, impact, and the way elite players recognize greatness when they see it. And just like that, the conversation took another unexpected turn.
Oh man, Caitlyn she's a beast, man. Like, and they love her. So I'll probably say Caitlin Clark. I love Tyrese, but she's another level in terms of just the love that.
Think about the significance of that for a moment. Pascal Siakam wasn't comparing Caitlin Clark to other WNBA stars. He was placing her name in conversations normally reserved for elite NBA talent, even drawing parallels to Tyrese Halliburton, one of the league's most dynamic young guards. Then he doubled down, suggesting that few athletes were generating as much attention and excitement as Clark. That's more than a compliment. It's recognition from someone who competes at the highest level of professional basketball. It sends a message to anyone still treating women's basketball as separate from the larger basketball conversation. Players don't casually make comparisons like that. They do it when they believe someone has truly changed the landscape. Siakam could have mentioned dozens of names. Instead, he chose Caitlin Clark. That decision alone spoke volumes. It suggested that the invisible wall between leagues is becoming harder to see and that many NBA players already view her impact as undeniable. Then came another voice that caught people by surprise. Obi Toppin isn't known for delivering dramatic speeches or chasing headlines. That's exactly why his comments stood out. They felt genuine, unfiltered, the kind of praise that carries extra weight because it doesn't sound rehearsed. Toppin plays with energy, confidence, and flair, yet when the topic shifted to Clark, his tone seemed noticeably different. It wasn't just admiration for highlights or statistics. It sounded more like appreciation for the work behind the scenes, the competitiveness, the pressure, and the ability to keep producing while carrying expectations few athletes have ever faced. And sometimes, those honest reactions say more than any carefully prepared statement ever could.
Caitlin's amazing. Super amazing. She's a great player. Having her be courtside and watching our games is awesome. We see the excitement that she has on the sides, but just like she's doing that, we do the same. Like when they're playing, like it's so much, it's a joy to.
What stands out isn't a single quote, it's the shift in perception behind all of them. More and more NBA players seem to be discussing Caitlin Clark as a fellow basketball star rather than viewing her through the usual league boundaries. That's the detail that matters. The respect feels mutual, genuine, and rooted in the game itself. When NBA players show up courtside for her games, it doesn't come across as a celebrity appearance or a publicity moment. It feels like basketball people recognizing another player they genuinely enjoy watching. That's a different level of admiration. What Obi Toppin expressed may not have dominated headlines, but that's exactly why it resonated. It reflected a growing belief that Clark's identity in the basketball world is expanding. She's no longer being discussed solely as a women's basketball player. Increasingly, she's being discussed as a hooper, someone whose talent earns respect regardless of category. And once that shift happens, it changes everything. Then there's Tyrese Halliburton. His support carried a different kind of weight because it wasn't based on distance. He shares the same city. He's seen the attention, the pressure, and the constant scrutiny surrounding Clark up close. That makes his perspective unique. When he spoke positively about her, it didn't feel like a routine compliment or a predictable public relations move. It sounded like the opinion of someone who had witnessed the situation firsthand, someone who understood what she was navigating every day: the spotlight, the expectations, the criticism, the nonstop conversation. Through all of it, Clark kept showing up, competing, and moving forward. That's what stood out to people closest to the situation. And sometimes, those are the voices that carry the most credibility of all.
I think for me, getting to actually spend time around her, be around her, get to know her personally, she's just an amazing person, an amazing player. She deals with a lot, there's a lot of rhetoric behind her that she really has no control over. And I think that the way she handles that is just amazing. Like, I think when it comes to the game of basketball, like, she's probably top 5 most famous people that are playing right now, just in general. That includes our league as well.
That's what made Tyrese Halliburton's comments so striking. This wasn't a casual mention or a passing compliment. Here was an NBA All-Star placing Caitlin Clark in conversations normally reserved for basketball's biggest names. Not because of hype, but because of impact. He sees the numbers. He sees the media attention. He sees the crowds, the pressure, and the expectations that follow her everywhere. More importantly, he understands what it means to carry a franchise on your shoulders. And from his perspective, Clark is navigating a spotlight that grows more intense by the day. What often gets overlooked is the empathy behind his words. He wasn't only speaking about her talent. He seemed to be acknowledging everything surrounding it: the criticism, the scrutiny, and the constant noise that comes with being the center of attention. His message was simple: Caitlin Clark belongs in these conversations, and she's handling far more than most people realize. Then there's LeBron James. When LeBron speaks, the basketball world doesn't just listen, it reacts. Every comment becomes a headline. Every opinion sparks debate. That's the influence earned by someone who has spent decades at the center of the sport. So when he chose to discuss Caitlin Clark, it carried weight far beyond a routine endorsement. It wasn't merely praise. It felt like a statement, a recognition of what she has accomplished and what she continues to endure. In a sports landscape filled with arguments, distractions, and nonstop criticism, LeBron's words seemed to cut directly through the noise. They focused attention on the bigger picture: the remarkable rise of a player who has become one of the most talked about figures in basketball, and the challenge of thriving while the entire world watches every move.
Because everybody is looking for you to say anything, and they're going to splice it and cut it and make it a negative thing. And I think for her, the one thing that I love that she's bringing to her sport, more people want to watch. More people want to tune in. I saw for the first time that they had a chartered plane for the first time in their league history. They flew private. That should be celebrated in his own right.
What made LeBron's comments resonate wasn't just that he supported Caitlin Clark, it was what that support represented. He understands pressure at a level few athletes ever will. He knows what it's like to become the face of a sport, to carry impossible expectations, and to have every success and failure magnified under a spotlight. That's why many people viewed his remarks as something deeper than simple praise. It felt like recognition from someone who has lived through a similar storm. LeBron has seen the attention surrounding Clark, the endless debate, and the way her presence has reshaped conversations across basketball. He understands what happens when one player becomes the center of a cultural shift. That's not a temporary trend. That's the beginning of a legacy. Perhaps that's why his words carried so much weight. They suggested not only admiration for her game, but respect for the way she continues to handle everything around it. And respect from someone like LeBron is a different level of endorsement entirely. Then the spotlight shifted to Trae Young. Few players embrace confidence the way Trae does. His deep-range shooting, fearless attitude, and willingness to take on any challenge have become part of his identity. Yet when he discussed Caitlin Clark, there seemed to be something extra in his tone. The confidence was still there. The playful energy remained, but underneath it was unmistakable respect. This wasn't merely one great shooter acknowledging another. It felt like a competitor recognizing a fellow competitor. The kind of recognition that only comes from players who understand how difficult it is to perform at an elite level while carrying enormous expectations. In that moment, the conversation wasn't about leagues, labels, or comparisons. It was about basketball excellence being recognized by those who know it best when they see it.
We're hype about Steph and Sabrina. I know that you have spoken about Caitlin Clark. You're a big Caitlin Clark fan. Oh, yeah. She, of course, is an excellent shooter. Would you ever do like a Caitlin Trae 3-point contest at All-Star?
Of course I would. I've gotten to talk to her too throughout her college years. We're the only 2 people that ever led college in points and assists. That's a crazy stat. I'd have to definitely practice a lot more than I have for these previous 3-point competitions, I'd be ready for sure.
That's what makes this next part so fascinating. Only 2 players in NCAA history have ever finished a season leading the nation in both points and assists. That's not a random statistic. That's rare territory reserved for truly exceptional players, which is why Trae Young's comments carried so much weight. There was nothing forced about them, nothing condescending, nothing that sounded like one star casually complimenting another. Instead, it felt like genuine respect from someone who understands exactly how difficult that level of production really is. Even more interesting was the tone. Trae wasn't speaking as if Caitlin Clark needed validation. He was speaking as if she had already earned her place. At times, it even sounded like he viewed the conversation as an equal exchange between elite shotmakers. That's what caught people's attention. Clark wasn't being discussed as an outsider trying to enter the basketball world. She was already part of the discussion. In many ways, she had become the discussion. And when Trae openly entertained the idea of sharing the spotlight or even testing himself against her, it only reinforced that perception. Then came Paul George, whose perspective felt completely different. George isn't known for dramatic headlines or exaggerated praise. When he speaks, he usually tries to provide clarity rather than create noise. That's exactly what made his comments stand out. Instead of focusing on viral moments, highlight clip, or shooting records, he stepped back and looked at the bigger picture. While most conversations surrounding Clark revolved around controversy, attention, or statistic, George seemed interested in something deeper. He focused on contact, the environment around her, the expectations she carries, the way her presence has altered the basketball landscape. And in doing so, he offered one of the most thoughtful perspectives yet on why Caitlin Clark's impact extends far beyond the numbers.